Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast. Before we start today's episode, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Jordan and I honestly had no idea that existed until our friend Dr. Zach Clinton came on and shared a lot of knowledge with us and some alarming suicide rates in our world. And some of those, again, they're estimates, but 740,000 people roughly commit suicide every year. And of that 740,000 people, 75% rough are male. That brings the total of men's suicide rates to an average of 1,500 a day. And to us, that's something that was just very alarming and something we had no idea about.
Most of us know somebody that has been affected by mental health issues or by suicide. I know Ben and I both personally know people that have lost their life to their battle with suicide. Most people think that if you bring up suicide to someone who you think might be having those kinds of thoughts, that it plants a seed in their head, and that can't be farther from the truth. It actually sheds light on that thought. It brings them hope. So if you know someone or you are someone that is struggling with mental health issues, that's struggling with suicide ideations, anything along those lines, Dr. Zach Clinton and the AACC have an amazing website called ChristianCareConnect.com. What you do is you're going to enter in your zip code, and it's going to give you a list of churches, counselors, and a bunch of other resources for your area near you. So if you know someone that is struggling, please reach out. You can also dial 988, which is the suicide hotline, if you need help.
And just remember, we're all in this together. You can't do it alone, and it's not something that we should really honestly take lightly. We need to be able to help each other.
Asking for help is not weakness, it's strength. So remember, be a good dude, be a good dad, stay safe.
See ya.
Welcome back to the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast. I'm Jordan.
And I am Ben.
And today we have a guest on. His name is Vincent Avila. He is the man, the myth, the legend. He helps us with a lot of our designs here at Good Dude, Good Dad. He is an awesome man. He is a great dude. He is working on being a dad, getting that practice in. But Vincent, we're so stoked to have you here, man. We love your designs. We love what you do. We appreciate all the help you've given us since we've started. But basically, we just want to open the floor up to you, man. Go ahead and kick us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your story, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys big time for giving me a chance. Not going to forget it. Also, going to thank you guys big time for letting me be on the podcast. Big fan of what you guys have going on here. So definitely want to start out with a big thank you. So I'll just sort of jump in. So I'm a graphic designer. I'm an illustrator. More importantly, I'm a small business owner. I spent about a year as a teacher at a university. I've worked for a few ad agencies here and there, but I always really wanted to craft my own thing. And so like around 2017, I sort of got my big break with an apparel company. I started designing stuff for those guys at a small level, and then they sort of like kind of blew up in some ways. So I was fortunate enough really to get to put my full footprint on a brand. That's really what I like to do the most. I like to work with people that do what they do best. I let them focus on that. And then I sort of say, well, you focus on what you do best, and I'll handle the heavy lifting when it comes to the art, because that's what I like to do best. My personal story, it's a lot about perseverance. I've been through a lot of complex situations as a business owner. I'm sure you guys have too. Some that have absolutely tested me in just about every way, from people disappearing in the middle of projects. But I would say about like 3 years ago, I had like one of my toughest tests. And I think that is really a good spring point for this conversation. It was a weird period of my life because I was balancing the joys of like being engaged and like growing this like beautiful relationship. But at the same time, like my business was sort of on its way down. So I absolutely put everything into like one of my biggest clients, really everything. I thought it was my end game. They got my loyalty. I didn't even want to think about working for other people at the time. At this point, I had a mortgage. My wife started to plan our wedding. And, before I knew it, I had a ton of bills staring me in the face. Um, Stress consumed my life. I was down to like single digits in my bank account, which I never had to experience as an adult. I had a situation where I was owed a large amount of money. Um, that was taking forever. I had to borrow money to meet my mortgage. I think this is something that a lot of people can really relate to. Just that everyday struggle, whether it's like chasing a dream or just, every day getting by. So I had a lot to figure out. It was tough. I did some crying. I'm not usually a big crier. I did some real crying during that period of my life. Um, but what followed that, was beautiful in a lot of ways because how I got out of it really was communication. It was communication and it was a lot of small, consistent wins. You can't really solve the world's problems in one swipe, and I wanted to every day, but what I really had to do was just take it one by one, take it day by day, and before I know it, things started to really turn around. So
Hmm.
um, I took advantage of my network a lot. I talked to a lot of people. I landed some big contracts. Before you know it, things started to turn around. I leaned on my wife a lot for support. She's usually the calmer one in our unit, so that gave me a lot of confidence in our relationship as well. Because when you really get a chance to like overcome adversity together, it's such a strong building point for like a great relationship going forward. Um,
Yeah.
it showed me who I was in a lot of ways, but it showed me who she was, and that was great. And it
Yeah.
was actually pretty cool as well because you guys gave me a chance, to work on some stuff where we were struggling. It wasn't a huge project at the time, but it was like something that gave me a lot of confidence personally. And I'm really grateful to those group of people, who gave me that chance when I was in that place. And I wouldn't even say it was anyone's fault, really. It was just sort of like a massively unfortunate set of circumstances. It wasn't anyone's fault. Um, I blame myself a lot for it, but in hindsight, looking back, I think I probably would be a lot more kinder to myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I had a lot of conversations with people. And springboarding off this, something just came to mind. People really underestimate the power of like a good conversation. The other
Yeah.
day I got a chance to speak with a younger designer, and it really wasn't anything transactional. Like there was no goal to the conversation. It was really just share with me some experiences about the industry and share with me some experiences about life, and I could just sort of see the light like come into his eyes, and I could see his personality changing. I could see his motivation going up, and like it worked. It worked the same for me too, really, because I could visibly see his energy changing. So that's one of the things that I'm going to start doing is like checking in with people more, having more conversations, because sometimes I think it can really just get your head out of a very dark place. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of my
Do
that's sort of my preamble and my story, and I don't have it all figured out. I definitely don't. It's a day by day process. I'm still learning more and more. Not everything's perfect, but I'm making it work the best I can, and it seems to be going really well right now. So yeah,
I say that's fantastic. I wanted to jump into a couple things before we kind of move forward from this, but
yeah,
you said it a couple of times, like perseverance and adversity, and grit and determination. All those things as a business owner, yes, is like one component too, right? As a man, it's a separate component. As a father, it's a separate component. But when you have to intertwine all of these different avenues and these things that we are responsible for daily, that that continues to add weight, right? And
yeah,
I think a couple really cool things that you said before I actually asked my question is like the fact that you said you were in an engagement during some of the roughest times that you had, and it gave, your now wife that ability to be able to be that person for you. First of all, dude, that's huge, man. Like that in itself is fantastic. I've been together with my wife for 12 years. Jordan and Caitlin have been together how long? Like 13 or something.
Yeah, right on that.
So, lots of years, but we have both also gone through those trials, right? And I think it just speaks volumes to your relationship and where you're going to be able to be moving forward. Like my wife and I had something similar, dude. We got engaged. She didn't ask for any of the junk that she was, getting handed to her with being a small business owner. And there was times where I feel like if I didn't have her behind the scenes encouraging me and like trying to keep pushing me forward, I think I potentially could have like been like, all right, here's my keys to my shops, like I'm out. But having that counterpart and somebody that can hold you accountable and uplift you is something we talk about often on the podcast. And I think it's something that every single person needs in their life. If it's not from your spouse, you got to get it from what if it's a dad, a friend, a mentor, a pastor, whatever. You have to find somebody in your life that can do those things for you. The accountability component, the truthfulness even when it hurts, and the uplifting when you need to be uplifted. Because as men, we're trying to break this notion of like, oh, dude, we're so tough that we don't need help. We can figure it out on our own. But I would love for you to kind of dive into those darker moments that you were facing as a man and as a business owner. Let's talk about those struggles a little bit more before we kind of get away from this subject.
Yeah, sure, man. So, I think honestly, when you go into a business and when you start a business, people don't go into it like, "Oh, I'm going to face a million challenges." Most of the time what you think about when you start is like success and I'm motivated and I'm ready to make things big. And it's like your truest tests really do come when, things line up and things line up that aren't in your favor. So it's like, I had to do a lot of soul searching and, it's kind of crazy, man, because before this, like I ran marathons and stuff. Like I thought I was a tough guy and, you can handle so much stuff physically, but like when it comes to being truly like mentally tested and having to live in it every day, it's not something that is going to just end when it comes to, the workout's over or this and that is over. You really need to live in this every day. There's no turning it off, This is how you make your living. So it's like having to come to grips with that as a business owner is something that I don't think a lot of people are ready for. Now, like you do get the other side of it too. You get more time with your family, which is great, and you get more freedom. But in a lot of ways, you need to earn that freedom relentlessly. And it's like until you've really been in it and experienced those struggles, you don't know how you're going to react. And like, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't react the best at first, and it took some therapy and it took being honest about my situation. Honesty was a big thing for me. It took a lot of steps for me to sort of pull myself out of that. But, now that I feel like if that ever comes up again, I'll be a lot more equipped to deal with those things because I have sort of a better toolkit. So hopefully that answered it a little bit.
Yeah, that definitely did. Piggybacking off of that, like, let's say you're talking to a young business owner that's going through something that's like very similar, where they're in that low point. Like, what advice would you give them now that you've come through on the other side? You've worked through it with therapy, all that kind of stuff. What little tidbits of information would you give somebody who's struggling with that same moment in life?
Absolutely. So what you need to do is you need to meet people. You need to meet as many people as you can because this changed everything for me. Whether it's people from your past, whether it's marketing events, whether it's different things, the more people that you can meet, like you'd be surprised, how many people are willing to stick their neck out for you and help you when you're honest. the biggest thing that you can do is meet as many people as you can. Like, I went to I went to just a one-off marketing night at my high school like 2 years ago, and I still get opportunities from that just from having conversations. And like, meeting people is so underrated. Like, how many times, like, if you absolutely have had the ability to help people, like, I would help someone if I had the opportunity to. And like, we sort of underrate kindness, and we're scared to be vulnerable in some ways. But meeting people really changed everything, and like really fostering those relationships. So if you're in that situation, tell a bunch of people about it. And it's like, and another thing I would do is try not to lead, as a try not to lead your whole marketing with that, because people really pick up on desperation, and like people really pick up when you're in a bad situation. I'm gonna piggyback off of like the Jason Khalipa episode, and it's about that negativity thing. The biggest thing I had to do was really tackle my negativity, because once you silence that negative voice, the possibilities are really endless, and it's a constant thing. It's not something that's going to go away overnight. It's sort of a framework that you need to lay out and take it step by step. But if your whole day is just listening to that negative voice, you're not going to have a chance, So it's small, repeatable steps. I would say meet as many people as you can and try to silence that negative voice. So yeah,
Yeah, have been we've talked about it a lot, I feel like the last several weeks, but the power of just like an ask, right? Asking somebody
yeah,
for something. It's something that is so crazy and any single person can do it no matter where you're at in your life. It just takes one thing. And that one thing is putting your pride aside, right? To be able to ask for that help.
yeah,
It's
man.
one
Like, I
thing and
mean,
it's free.
you're Yeah, I mean, you're gonna hear 99 no's before you hear one yes. And to be honest with you, that one yes can change your whole life. But you can't be shut down by those 99 no's. And like, that's one of the hardest things to deal with, is like, you need to really get used to hearing no a bunch of times before you hear a yes. But if you stay steady and you stay steadfast, that yes can really change your life. So yeah,
I I think it's hilarious that as as men we kind of had this like thing where it's like when you're going through a hard time, your natural reaction seems to be to want to recluse and to kind of hide and get in this mindset that you need to do everything on your own and just shut away from the world. But I love how you're saying that get out and meet as many people as you can. Go out and make friendships and be friendly and make those connections. And I also noticed that you were saying that another part of it is be open and honest about your situation, but don't be desperate. So I feel
yeah,
like there's two things that we tend to do is one we over um, we try to make ourselves look good, right? Nobody wants to look bad. So you want to, yeah, dude, I'm doing great. Everything's fantastic. And then, like, I'm the freaking man. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, I need this. Otherwise I'm gonna like,
Freak out.
yeah, I'm gonna freak out. I can't pay rent. I can't, it's keeping the exact opposite on both ends, being open and honest of like, hey, yeah, I'm not in the best point right now moving forward. Like, business kind of sucks and it's not, I'm not in the place where I want to be and I'm struggling, but I'm working on it. And then the second half of that is not being desperate, being like, yeah, but I'm working on it. I'm pressing in, I'm trying to stay positive. I'm doing all these little habits that you talked about. What you say to yourself has a massive impact on your life. Too many people. We had this guest that came through. Too many people tell themselves these stories in their head and they leave them unchecked. Where it's just like, I'm such a loser. Of course, I'm not doing this. It's that mindset that you allow yourself to get into where you're just feeding off your own negativity. So I appreciate you saying, yeah, one, desperation stinks. Everyone can smell it. And two, be open and honest. Be a genuine person because people also feel that.
When there's to add to that too, though, there's a difference between you said it, Vince, a little bit ago, but you want to be open and honest, right? You want to share your stories, and that's again what we're trying to do on this podcast. There's a
Yeah.
way to share what you're going through without having the feeling and the presentation of desperation. There's a difference and a switch between being vulnerable to a point where you're not using it for pity, but you're using it to genuinely share, hey, I'm Ben, and this is what I'm currently going through. Is there any of you that maybe have a tool to help me? I think that's where we really need to break this freaking this mentality of the being soft or the not asking for help, the being vulnerable. And dude, every single conversation we've had in these last several months has constantly been teaching me myself right now, listening to you, listening to Jordan, is that I need to continuously work on my ability as a man to process, but to also be able to respond, listen, and share and effectively communicate what I am going through or what my family is going through, my businesses are going through, because that's what makes me mentally strong and strong as a man.
Absolutely, man. And like one of the hardest parts about it is like it's embarrassing. Like let's be real. Like, you know, that it can be really embarrassing to show up to maybe a friend's event and it seems like, you know, when you're going through stuff, it seems like everyone else is just, you know, the sun is shining brighter on everyone else. And you're the only one who's going through all this stuff. And, you know, I think your mind even starts to pick out, like, you know, this friend is doing this and this friend's doing that. And it can be really embarrassing at times. But, you know, that's really one of the biggest things is like, how do I overcome that? And you know, it also can be a great separator for you because you really find out who's in your life. You know, if you have people that in your life that are going to judge you for being down or you know give you maybe a reaction that you're not looking to, then maybe you need to have different people in your life. And that's
For
another hard
sure.
conversation to have. But like the support system that you have, you know, we can come back to this again, but like the support system that you have is really everything because like I am super hard on myself and like I'm the hardest on myself. So I may not need that from everyone else around. And, you know, my wife did a great job. Again, we'll come back to her, but my wife really did a great job of giving me grace because she knows that I'm going to get all the pressure from myself. So, you know, she did really a great job of, you know, dealing with the adversity we have, but also like making sure that I was just okay as a person. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough, but, you know, more and more conversations that we have, you know, it really comes back to that. Like, we need to be honest about our situation. And, you know, Jordan, too, you know, you came back to the desperation thing again. Um, it's tricky because you also don't want to lose your self worth. And like when we go through hard times as a person, you know, we sort of like forget like the badass that we are. And, you know, and like we forget all the things that we've done. Like I've done a lot of stuff in my career and like, you know, we've done a lot of things in our lives up to this point. So like a year, you know, a year long, whatever, 2 years, however long it is, like that doesn't define who we are as a person and it doesn't define the future. But, you know, it's hard when you're in that circumstance. The it's hard to hear this stuff. You know, you really need to be in there and you need to figure it out every day because it's hard when people tell you it's going to be like I don't know if it's going to be okay. You know, I honestly don't. But when you take the little steps and you start to really have that faith, then things change a lot. And again, it comes back to that mindset. So yeah,
Dude, that actually touched me just right now in a big way. I just want to say thank you for saying that because I personally struggle with the tendency to forget the the stuff that I've done in my past. That's like, hey, I tend to beat myself up a lot, and anyone that knows me
yeah,
knows that I do this. And it was actually kind of funny because I was chatting with some friends over like this week or this weekend, and they were like, I actually kind of get this a lot lately. Is that, dude, you've done a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of like really fascinating stuff in your life, and I go, I mean, yeah, I guess so, whatever, and I just blow it off and just keep this like, because right now I'm going through a little bit of a hard time, and it's real easy for me just to be like, Jordan at it again. Come on, dude. Like, how come you can't get this thing going? Like, what's going on? But the fact that you just like, it's so easy to forget the cool things you've done, like the person that you are, like you said, the badass that you are. Like, hey,
Yeah.
pull on some of those things that you did from your past. Like, yeah, you don't want to live in the past, but you also want to pull from some of those moments where you overcame struggle to help you realize that you can get through what you're going through right now. So, dude, I love that you said it. That's really good.
Absolutely, man. And it's funny too. I'm gonna go on another little tangent here with my wife, but we were going on a walk the other day, just me and her, and it started to sort of rain a little bit, and we both thought, maybe we should turn around. It might start raining a lot, but then I started to think back to the days when I would do like a lot of physical training, and I was like, when it rained, I sort of would like when it rained because it gave me an opportunity. No one else was out there. It was just me. And I think I've started to apply that more to my life. Like, the rain's coming, but this is my chance. This is my chance to maybe do something that other people aren't doing, or to overcome something that maybe other people haven't done. And that sort of mentality too, like the fact that maybe it's just you on this journey, there's some strength to like pull from there too. So, I thought that was like a funny metaphor. She's like, oh yeah, it might rain a lot, but I was like, you know what? Back when I used to train, I loved being the dude that would be out there in the rain, the snow, the cold, whatever it was. I like, me personally, that voice inside of me like got excited. And I think, these are obviously simulated struggles, but when you deal with like real struggles, having that mentality too of like, okay, like this is an opportunity for me to really do something great here. What can I show myself? What am I made of? If you can turn your mindset into that sort of thing, you'd be surprised what can happen there too. So,
Yeah, and they're sorry.
I was say you're in Philly too. You have that
I say
Rocky Balboa montage
yeah,
mindset.
they got the tough
yeah,
Philly.
absolutely, man. Yeah,
Philly tough.
yeah,
I
for
love that.
sure.
Dude, I was gonna say, you said it a lot though. Little changes, right? Little obstacles that you conquer daily, little daily habits. I mean, you mentioned the Jason pod, and he said the same thing. You're constantly just doing these daily habits, daily achievements, daily success rates, because all of those things, they add up. It doesn't matter how small they are. It could literally be, I just said this to somebody the other day. It could be setting your alarm at 5 a.m. every day. It's something that's so simple, but to actually get up at 5 a.m. when that alarm goes off takes discipline, right? It could be, we had another guy, oh my gosh, my mind's blank. Oh, and now I know who it is. Justin saying that he spent 90 days complimenting his wife's butt, right? Like just something like so simple, but that I think one of the things I just wanted to stress, if you're listening, like these things are free. They're not these massive things that you need to go on a freaking deep dive on ChatGPT and ask it, hey, can you please analyze my life right now? I'm going through some crazy crap. What can I do? Like these are simple things that are free. And you could start literally today. You could set a timer on your phone to, get up every 30 minutes and just do like 2 push-ups. You can make it a point to compliment your spouse. You can make it a point to freaking maybe make dinner for your spouse or to play with your kids if you're a dad. All these things that it's what I'm listening to you right now say is just micro changes in your daily life can have a macro effect on everything. But I
Yeah.
also wanted to say one more thing before we get into our next question and maybe take a little break because I told you in 30 minutes I was going to have to go to the bathroom, and here we are. Um, but one thing I was going to say is we we have recently, I feel like, unless I'm wrong, Jordan, but I feel like more recently we've been on a negative talk about social media and you know how it's an instant gratification and you could get lost in it, whether it's through, you know, porn because you see a girl, or whether it's through comparison because you see all these other things. But social media also is so cool. And I wanted to say that because for listeners out there, we didn't know who Vince is. He popped across my page because a lot of branding stuff comes across my page from my view, whatever it's called, your
Algorithm?
yeah, thank you, your algorithm. And you popped up and I saw one of the designs you did. I clicked it. And instead of being like a lot of haters out there, I went and I followed you instead of just liking a picture, because there's a lot of people that do that. I was like, oh, dude, this dude's got a sick design. I click his profile, scrolled a couple times. I want to follow this guy. And then you would just post random art that you've done or designs you did, and I would just randomly like comment. And I showed Jordan, I was like, dude, we got to use this guy. And here we are. I've been working with the same graphic designer for almost 14 years now, and love him. He's one of my, like, probably one of my best friends. But he's also the type of guy that's like, dude, you gotta, spread the love, use people that you like. And so I just wanted to say, like, we bash a lot on social media, but social media is also such a, like, beautiful and powerful tool if you let it be.
Yeah, 100%, man. And like another thing to add to that, like you're gonna, every day I've been trying to post more every day. I've been working on holding myself more accountable, but like I've been coming across a lot of, like you said, the doom material. It's like, oh, AI is gonna take our jobs and like this and that, and like I've seen people who honestly have more talent than me struggle to find work and this and that. But like another thing is like they don't. Everyone has their own story. You don't know what their circumstances are, so don't underestimate yourself, because maybe just because they have more talent or whatnot, like everyone has their own circumstances, everyone has their own story. So like try not to fall
Yeah.
into like the mass hysteria when it comes to certain things, because everyone's life has a totally different trajectory. You never know what's going to happen to you. So just because maybe great things are happening to someone or bad things happen to someone, don't let that sort of shape your plans or your trajectory, really, because
Yeah.
you really, everyone's story is beautiful, so everyone has their own chances to do things. So I wouldn't let the mass hysteria or the mass negativity really get to you. And that's it's very easier said than done, because there's days where it can get you down, but like, yeah, you have your own story, so don't forget that.
For sure.
Well, not only that, we're always our own biggest critic. So it's real easy to
Oh man,
get caught
yeah.
up in that comparison game. That being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after Ben uses the bathroom. Hey guys, quick break. This is Jordan with Good Dude, Good Dad. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Hidden House Coffee. Get 15% off your next order by going to hiddenhousecoffee.com and using the code GDGD15. It'll be in the details and description down below. Make sure you subscribe, and a huge shout out to Road as well. Now back to the show.
Well, we're going to go into one of the questions we love to ask. You can answer it. There's kind of two ways you can answer it. Typically, we always ask, like to you and in your life and everything you've gone through, what makes a good dude and a good dad? You could either just speak on being a good dude, or you could speak on what you think being a good dad is through your experiences and what you would like in the future.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll take it from like my dad's perspective here. Just show up and just be there. Help people when you can. My dad really set the greatest example. He always helped a ton of people in his life, and I think it inspired me to do the same. But he helped people selflessly. He never got anything in return for it. But he's universally loved, by almost every. And I think it can mean delivering a lot, and you might not get a lot in return. And that's just how it is sometimes. Sometimes I think I used to get kind of disappointed, when people wouldn't reciprocate things always. But like, I had a conversation with someone one time, and they told me, you expect a lot from other people because you expect a lot from yourself. And, that's not always fair to you and it's not always fair to them. But, just showing up, just being there, just going the extra mile to really help people, I think is how I define a good person. And that's what I'm going to work to be as a dad. And, that's what my dad really instilled in me was like, help people whenever you can and show up as much as you can because it doesn't have to be special. Like it can just be the smallest things like that can really take people in the absolute farthest ways. So it's like, that's what it really means for me to be a good dude, good dad. It's just like being there, showing up, and you don't have to show up 100% every day, but if you really show up for people and you really can make a lasting impact on their lives, and it doesn't even have to be for them. You can make it selfish. It can be for you. Because helping people helps me out a ton. So I
Yeah.
mean, however it gets you there, it gets you there. But yeah.
No, that's good, dude. It's always a cool way to hear when someone answers that question with the perspective of what they had as a dad, or what they didn't have as a dad. Because it's not always. I know it sounds so stupid and so silly to say out loud, but something Jordan and I realized more recently is the things that we thought were just kind of the normal good thing to do as a husband and as a father
Oh,
are not as common. And I don't mean that
yeah.
in like a digging way or, like a stabbing in the back type way. It just, we genuinely, I guess I'm naive to it, but just doing the right thing because it's the right thing, it doesn't seem like I should get like a pat on the back for that. I feel as if that's just the right thing. But so I really I love when we hear the answers of someone speaking through the lens of what they had as a child through their parents, specifically a father. Because dude, it's not lost on me that we have the ability to genuinely shape our children's lives. And it's
Yeah.
something that is so freaking powerful that I would have never understood until one, I became a father, and two, getting a bunch of men to share their, life stories and what they had and what they didn't have is really making me just value and appreciate even more of the opportunity I have as a man and as a father.
Yeah, man. And, that scares me to a certain degree, but it also makes me excited because, I know how my dad shaped me as a person. And, yeah, and I'm looking forward to taking on that journey because, yeah, it's really one of the most powerful, special relationships as you can have that like father son or that father daughter relationship. And, you know, it really kills me and it hurts me to hear that people haven't had good relationships with their parents because, I owe a lot to my parents. They're a lot, they made me a lot, they made me a lot of the person who I am. And, they still support me in a lot of ways, but like, I see how other people were raised, and I see how some people. I see the perspectives of some other people, and being a good parent is like one of those things that you can't quantify in any way. It's not something you can purchase. It's not something that any amount of money can buy. It's just something that it's left up to the chance of the universe. But like when you have the chance to be a parent and you have the chance to be in that you know and when you have the chance to have that opportunity, it's like I really want to do everything I can to make the most of it. So
Dude, I want somebody to hear that again. There's no amount of money that can purchase being a good father. Like you got to hear that and listen to it. Is there's no amount of money, you can't pay for it, you can't um, use it to get you out of something. It's
we might
something
be
that you
frozen
have to
here.
daily give and daily earn. And hopefully it comes back.
Vincent, are you still there? I know it's still recording.
because his thing hasn't gone off.
Yeah. Let's see. I know if I kick us off and then bring us back on, it should reset it, but... Oh, he left. Come back. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. This is the joys and the pains
Of remote.
of remote.
We've had a good run recently, though.
I know, this is like the first time we're having a hard time. I wonder if he has too many applications open up on his computer.
He's trying to get back on.
Oh, okay.
He just texted me.
Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. Our studio looks so sick from this angle.
I know.
It really does.
All right, we should be back now.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
It's the joys of remote interviews, man. But it's all
know.
good,
I know. I'm gonna have
Jordan
to come out
is-
for the next one.
right?
Yeah.
I was about to say something too, and I totally lost what it was.
It's all good. Ask your.
Oh, no, what? Yes, no, I remember what it was. So, just like you guys were both, I don't know if you were able to hear Ben's response, but he was reiterating what you said, that there's no amount of money that can replace or can help quantify a good parent. There's I've mentioned him before because I listened to his podcast, Ed Milet. He was talking about QTR, quality time remaining.
He also said people are going to steal that.
Yep, and I am. I'm stealing it right now because I loved it, dude. It was so good. But
I was listening to it this morning.
I was giving him. I'm giving him a shout out for it. So Ed, you're definitely not going to listen to this, but I hope you would. You were listening to it. QTR, quality time remaining, and he was talking about having those moments. He's like, as he's coming towards the end of his life, this dude just made a ridiculous amount of money. He's clearly going through something right now, but he was like, I'm thinking back now to the quality time remaining that I have left. I wish I would have thought about how many more conversations I was gonna have with my dad. I wish I would have thought about. He's like, I was thinking about how many more good conversations I'm gonna have with my mom. He's like, there's so many little moments that I wish I would have had these moments. I wish I would have had more moments. He's like, I wish I would have had more quality moments and maybe focused a little less on the hustle. And maybe I'm paraphrasing that wrong, but that's kind of what I got from it, is that he was like, money at the end of the day is awesome, and you should, you do need to take care of your family, and you should be the best version of yourself, and you should, put in the work. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you're taking time to appreciate the little moments. And I think part of that is appreciating being a parent and appreciating having good parents and appreciating the quality time that you have with them. So,
And to go off that though, to his point and what he's saying is it's quality time remaining, right? Like things that you take for granted are not always going to be there, like your health, your body, your mind. We might unfortunately lose our memories, But I think what's something that's interesting, and not interesting because he's obviously not the only person that has thought this way. He's just coining it, but we constantly talk about intentionality and being present. That's the same thing as a QTR. So it's the very similar principle of we need to be intentional with everything that we're doing, our time, our mind, our presence when it comes to, your loved ones and obviously in your business as well. It all takes intentionality, and it all takes the ability to say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't. And that's kind of like his whole principle.
Yeah, I think there is such power in hearing that, because in the end, it's like we live in a world now where people push this like hard work and this hustle culture, and like everything is like work, 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 and work till your hands bleed and this and that. And like, I even do work for brands that like represent that kind of stuff. And like, in the end, time with your family and time with your loved ones is like more valuable than any amount of work you put towards your business, whether it be money you make or whatnot. But like, now at the same coin, I'm not telling you to just stop working and spend all your time with your family and whatnot. There needs to be a balance, but making the absolute most of that time you have with your loved ones, that means more to me than any career goal I'll meet or like really anything in my life because at the end of your life, there's not going to be a scoreboard. There's not going to be someone that shows up and say you put this much time into work and here's what you did, this and that. But those memories and those moments that you carve out with people, that's going to be the stuff that really sticks with you. Not that time that you spent 7 days a week in the office or this and that. Like I always get turned off when people try to push like the hard work culture onto me because all of that comes with a sacrifice. And like, are you willing to sacrifice relationships with people in your life and with people in your family? And like, I personally am not, and I'll be fine dealing with the fallout and the consequences from that because
Yeah.
I know the stuff that fulfills me, and it's not monetary gain or goal. Now that stuff's great, but I know the stuff that fulfills me, and I know what helps me sleep at night. So yeah, I think that was a really great point that you guys made there.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys helped me land that plane because I started talking and then completely forgot where I was going with it. So you guys brought it full circle so that it actually makes sense. But we want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll tailor this a little bit to you because usually we ask what's one actionable step that someone could take right now to be a good dude or a good dad, and you're more than welcome to answer that. But I also would like you to speak to what's one actionable step that you would give to somebody who is a young artist that is, wanting to pursue their passion of art and pursue it as a career and make something out of it. What's one bit of advice that you would give to them?
Okay. So maybe this is unconventional, maybe it's not. But do your best at everything. Over deliver, go the extra mile, whatever it is. You're not doing it for the person on the other end, you're doing it for yourself. That's your name, that's your legacy. Your best can be different every day, but how many times do you really go through life and truly do your best? Like put everything you have into every project. Like if you absolutely did that and you didn't half-ass anything, I bet if you truly did your best or at least tried to do your best, then your circumstance would change. Maybe it's not in a huge way, but maybe it just gets the attention of one person, and that person can make a huge change for you. So it's simple, it's old school, but it's truly do your best. When it comes to every project, I really try to, go through the motions, and I really put my all into every single project. I explore different directions. I'll do what you guys want to do, but then I'll also put my own perspective on it from where my mind comes from. But that is one thing that I think has helped me be successful as an artist throughout all these years. It's like do your best. Show things the way you want it to be shown. Put things into nice presentations. Actually do your best, because how many times do we go through life and we just get things done to get them done, and we just try to get through our day, and how different would it actually be if we really did our best? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, and we can attest to that. We love being able to speak into those moments, and this is one of them, but you are not just saying that. Before you even knew us, before you even knew the podcast, you helped us with our first design before we kind of had our first little mini, kind of what we're calling is a success rate. But you packaged everything so professional. You gave us more than we asked for. You, like you said, you over delivered. And it's something that stuck out to me specifically about you, because it would have been real easy for you to send us like the one thing we asked for and be like, all right, I'm out. And that would have been the end of that relationship. And we're very relational people. And, we wanted, after you did that, we were like, dude, this guy's sick. Let's keep using him. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. Yeah. And dude, we've done what? We're on like our fourth or fifth thing with you already. Fifth thing, I think.
Yeah, and like I love hearing that, because that's solely the reason that I do it. I want to show people that working with me, you're not just signing up for like a stock art project. Like I put my heart and my soul into all my projects. If you work with me, you truly are working with me on a relationship level, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
yeah,
I want to give you one more compliment about how you're doing things. Not that you asked, but um, I like how you are very methodical with your deliverables and the time and that setting that expectation. I think a lot of people are yes people and they have good intentions and good heart behind that yes. But when you are a yes person, sometimes it dilutes your credibility because you are that yes person. Or you'll take a project on and say, "Hey, I'll send it to you by tomorrow." And you know that's not realistic. Just be honest. And that's something I have also really appreciated about how you've conducted yourself in your business with us is, you've always given us a, "Hey, yeah, I would love to do this, but I'm probably not going to be able to get it to you guys for the next week." And that's great because the expectation was set versus the opposite and how quickly oh my gosh, a relationship could be ruined by saying, "Oh yeah, Ben and Jordan, I'll send that to you on Tuesday. It's Monday, but I'll send it to you Tuesday." And here we are Tuesday. We're waiting. We're excited. We're pumped. And then you're like, "Oh, sorry, man. Maybe Friday." Like, why didn't you just start with Friday? And that's again something simple. But if you're listening to this and you are in a space where you have a business like that and you have deliverables and you are on a time constraint, please just be honest. And it's way better to overshoot your due date and deliver sooner because what you're going to do is create a relationship that is built off of one, like being realistic, two, trust, and three, if you're constantly delivering faster than you say you can, dude, for me at least, I'm speaking for myself, is I'm going to continue to go to that person because they're constantly breaking the expectation. So,
yeah,
and
and communication for me is like literally everything. I love communicating. I'm going to over communicate in the end. And like some people have issues with that, whatnot. I'm always going to tell you because like I know what it's like to be on the other end of that and it's not fun. So if you work with me, I always over communicate. I'm going to lay out clear parameters. Here's when you're going to get something. And, if I'm falling behind, and this has happened, with projects in the past, if I'm falling behind, I'll just be like, listen, I want some more time here. I want to explore some more directions. Can I have maybe an extra day or two so I can get this thing really right? Because, communication is so underrated in a business setting. People will always appreciate that you were honest and you communicated, but what they don't appreciate is like you playing with their time at all. And I recognize how precious people's time is, and I always do my best to communicate. And I think, I sort of pride myself on people having a good experience when they work with me because I've had situations like, for example, our wedding photographer was she's someone who like is in the news now for like defrauding people. Not to go down this tangent, but like yeah, for like 40 or 50 people. We winded up getting our photos, but like how she would like make excuses and this and that and like listen, we paid you good money. And honestly, being such the communicator I am, I had like zero tolerance for that stuff. So
yeah.
like I just know what it's like being on the other end of it, and you just feel helpless because you took a leap of faith with someone, and when someone takes a leap of faith with you to work with you, and give you their hard-earned money, you know the least you can do is communicate and be honest about expectations, and yeah, so I really pride myself on that stuff.
And say we appreciate you, man. We love working with you. Jordan will
Yeah.
tag all of your stuff below. But if you're only listening, his website is vinceavila.com, VinceAvila.com. His Instagram is Vincent Avila underscore. And if you need a graphic design or anything like that, we've thoroughly enjoyed working with you. We're going to continue to work with you. We have a bunch of stuff he's actually done for us that we haven't even released yet. We're still trying to map that all out and figure that out. But Dude, it was really great to get to like sit in this setting and talk with you versus just talking about designs. Jordan, I say it all the time, but this podcast is bringing life to not just us, but hopefully, the people listening.
Yeah, man. The feeling is absolutely mutual, and I absolutely love having conversations like this because it helps me out a ton, seeing different perspective from people who are doing it as well, and it's super motivating for me to be a part of this. And yeah, it's just been a great it having you guys has just been a great thing for me all around. So yeah, I appreciate it a ton.
Well, Ben, thank you
Mr.
for
Jordan.
another great episode. I will link all of Vince's stuff down below. Check him out. We got some really, really cool designs from him that are coming out pretty soon, along with some side projects that we did with like Dangerous Dude, Dangerous Dad, and Good Dude. No dad, just Good Dude. So we're really excited for all those. But most of all, guys, remember, be a good dude, be a good dad. Today's episode is brought to you by Hidden House Coffee. Go check out their locations here in Orange County, California, or get some coffee delivered to your house at hiddenhousecoffee.com.